My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Rimworld. Now, given the fact that we're on the main title screen here, you may be able to put two and two together at the moment and come to the conclusion correctly that the previous series that we'd only just really gotten started with has run into a few problems. Basically, one of the mods that were installed was causing some major slowdown issues for one reason or another, and when I removed the mod from the mod list and then attempted to continue on with the saved game, it just crashed. So unfortunately, that series has had to be canned in its infancy, which is a shame. But what we're going to do today is we're going to set up a similar sort of scenario to the first series. So it'll be an ice sheet challenge with a naked tribal colonist, just the one, and not replicate it as such, but basically start again from scratch. Obviously it's going to be a different map, and it will be a slightly different colonist as well. But let's get started and get set up with our new colony. So here's our custom scenario here. Same sort of setup, starting with a recurve bow and the stone cutting research. Again, we will be starting naked, and it will be a youth character. Will be at most 19 years old, and they will be tribal faction. Again, we're going to go for Randy Random and losing is fun, just for the challenge and the difficulty. And we'll go for reload anytime, just in case we come into contact with any more errors due to mods. Hopefully we won't. I have tested this now, and in my off-camera series I started since tweaking the mods, I haven't run into any issues so far, so touch wood, we should be okay. In terms of planet generation, we're going for the same setup as before, and we'll just hit randomize seed a few times. I'm not looking for anything in particular. I'm just going to hit randomize 5 or 6 times, and then whatever we land on, that's what we're going to work with. There we go, gore. Could be quite fitting. Alright then, so here's our planet. As we can see, we've gone for the full 100% coverage once again. And just like last time, we'll bring up the prepare carefully mod screen and filter a particular set of, requirements for our starting tile. So we want ice sheet once again. We'll go for mountainous, and we need granite and marble. Everything else we'll leave as normal. So let's have a look at the tiles that meet this criteria and decide which one we want to use as our starting location. Okay, so here's one. It is mountainous. We have granite, sandstone and marble. Average temperature is -28, and it ranges from an extreme of -53 to a high, so to speak, of -3. Let's go for the larger of the two medium options, and we want to start in summer, just so we have that fighting chance to actually survive the first few days while we get our base all set up. As you also notice, we are quite close to a neutral outpost here, which we can trade with, and that may be quite important later on. Okay, so in terms of our ideology, I'm going to try something different this time, and I'm going to go with fluid. Now, with the fluid option, you basically start with a shell of an ideology, and over time you gain points with which you can flesh out the ideology. So let's create a new fluid ideology. Given the fact we're tribal, I think embodied theist, once again, is going to be the best or the most appropriate structure for this ideology. Now, these are the only memes we can choose when you start with a fluid ideology. I'm going to pick, let me have a quick think here. We're going to go with supremacist. Okay, so let's just get a name that we think met. Ooh, rebiism. I'll go for that. Let's pick a better symbol, shall we? Perhaps this one here. We want to be a sort of aggressive and eventually cannibalistic tribe. So that sort of logo or icon for the religion would work quite well. The two gods are Rebai, the god of life, and Ganiox, also the god of life. Let's just randomize that one, shall we? Banux, the god of war. That's more suitable. So let's just set up our precepts now, and we'll talk through them once they're all set up. Okay, so for the starting precepts, we've gone for slavery as honourable, torture respected if guilty. In fact, we'll change that to acceptable. We are quite a bigoted and closed-minded religion. We've set cannibalism to acceptable because it's pretty much a necessity to survive on the ice sheet that you have to resort to cannibalism. Other change we've made: don't care about execution, so we can execute our prisoners at will. Don't care about corpses, so we don't get the negative mood modifier from seeing a corpse. And we've set skull spike to desired, just to give us that tribal, cannibalistic sort of vibe around our little camp. We're also going to add a couple of extra styles here. We'll go for morbid and also spike core, along with the starting totemic style as well. The roles in our religion: we have the leader, who is the divine chief. We'll just tweak this ever so slightly. There we go. So the divine chief has a pelt coat and a deer skull headwear. Our moral guide is the priest. We'll just tweak that again. So we've got a revised priest, and they have a headbag and beads. Melee specialist is Smash Talker, which is probably one of the best names ever. And our shooting specialist is Shoot Flame. Rituals then: we have the funeral of Ribai. Social festival is a festival of violence. The drum party is Prime Advent, and the gladiator duel is Duel of War. Buildings: our ritual seat is a pew, and we have a Ribaic mark as the building marker. We'll customize our relics to make them a little bit more fitting. So our first relic will be a broken spear, and that will be called Artifact of War, and this will be a silver spear. We shall also choose an idol, and this will be called Ven Focus, and it shall be golden. And last of all, we shall have a pyramid, and this will be Tongue Caller, and this will be a jade pyramid. So they're the three relics of this religion. Venerated animals: we have the Night Ave is a venerated animal, so we won't be able to hunt those if any do wander onto our map, although I don't think they would, but you never know. Everything else will keep as is. So let's go ahead and move on to the colonist screen, but we will quickly save this religion here. So here's our colonist. This is Cobra. We have a shooting skill of 5 with a minor passion for that skill. Construction is 8, mining is 10, crafting is 3, and all the others are 0. The only trait we have is Psychopath. There are no health concerns and no relationships at all, and we're not incapable of any of the tasks. So let's go ahead and get started and see the map that has been generated for us, shall we, and how we're gonna get started. Okay, so here we are. First thing we'll do is get Cobra to equip himself with the recurve bow, and we'll have a look at the map that we're working with. We've started in a fairly nice location here. This could be quite easily defensible by closing off some of these access points here. There's a few bits of wildlife on the map. We have a snow hare there, one just here. We have a seal off to the east, and we have an Arctic coyote up in this cave to the northwest. We have an ancient danger over here, and we have 2 fairly substantial cave networks. And these cave networks, they have 3 insect hives spread across them, so that's something to keep an eye on as we expand and progress. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is get some of this steel mined out, so we could put a shelter around this steam geyser, just like we did in the first playthrough. So we'll queue up that mining order, and we'll get Cobra to work on mining straight away. Now the 10 mining skill is going to make this a lot faster. It makes it a little bit easier, but without it you really will struggle to get your shelter erected before you succumb to hypothermia. Obviously we are naked, so our cold temperature is only 16 degrees. It's currently negative 15, so we're going to get hypothermic very quickly. So let's just put a stockpile zone around the steel that we've just mined, so it registers as our own. And then using that steel, just like before, we'll put a structure just around this steam geyser. Just like so. We don't need that corner filling in, however. And we want a steel door in there as well. So with the blueprints set up, we'll tell Cobra to prioritise working on this steel structure. Again, their fairly decent construction skill is going to help with this. We shouldn't bodge too many components here, and we can work through this pretty quickly as well. As we can see, when we're near the steam geyser, we have a temperature of around 20 degrees, which is going to offset any of the hypothermia that we're going to struggle with until we get some clothing arranged. We will need to hold this door open, because otherwise it will start cooking up in here pretty quickly. There we go. The next thing we want to do is we'll go for a drafted hunt, and we'll prioritise this seal over here. That way we have an early food source. There we go, that's the seal taken care of. What we'll do now is we'll get rid of that stockpile zone there. And we're going to put one a little bit closer to the base. Just so we don't have to walk so far to access our stockpile. We'll allow everything for the time being. We can specialise and generalise our stockpiles a little bit later, but for now, we just have everything to hand. So we'll immediately put down both a crafting spot and a butcher spot just here. And we also want a sleeping spot near the steam geyser. At the butcher spot, we'll set up a recurring butcher creature bill. And we'll also allow human-like corpses. And we'll prioritise that work straight away, so we have that source of food straight away. Okay, there we go. So we have a little bit of meat. We may as well take a bite to eat now. Our food bar is quite low. And we're going to need some more steel almost immediately, so we'll mine out a few more blocks here. But we will quickly warm ourselves up before we do that, because the hypothermia is rising. And we'll try and get as many of these blocks mined out as we can before we have to sleep. We can just get one more. And that should be enough for what we need to put together. So let's get it all hauled back to our stockpile, and then we can retire for the evening in our relatively warm little base. So a quick meat breakfast in the next morning gets Cobra set up for the day ahead. What we want to put down now is a primitive well, so that we can wash without having to wander off to the nearest water source. And we're also going to want a hoopstone ring, so we can address the lack of recreation that currently affects us. So we'll get these built straight away. So there we can take care of our hygiene needs as well as our recreation, both of which are going to help our mood. As you can see, because we have slavery as honourable, we have a -2 modifier due to having no slaves in the colony, so that's not going to help matters. Now, as you can see, we only have 4 units of meat left from that seal that we butchered, so we are going to have to hunt down the remaining snow hares on the map. Okay, so one of the snow hares was clearly taken care of by this Arctic coyote. Now the snow hare did land 2 bites on the coyote, so he is suffering from a little blood loss. So I think targeting the coyote first of all is probably the wisest course of action. But before we go out and do that, obviously we'll take care of the hypothermia. Get that down to a manageable level, but in the meantime, one of the snow hares has gone mad. So that snow hare is going to make a beeline for us, which is actually quite useful because we did need to hunt them anyway. This just means we can stay close to our base. Let the snow hare come to us. One shot, one kill. Perfect. So let's get that butchered straight away, which Cobra is doing, thankfully. That's going to help add a little bit of meat to our stockpile, but probably only enough for one decent meal. So we do want to get this coyote before it wanders off the map. Luckily, he's still nearby. Okay, we can disregard that steel mining order, and instead we'll go and try and get this coyote. Now, there is a danger this coyote is going to fight back, so we have to be careful here. So we've landed one hit, and that's hit the coyote in the right eye. Ideally, we want to slow down its movement. Okay, its movement's down to 69%. Okay, we really don't want it going near that insect nest, because they will attack it themselves, and we can't fight off those insects in our current state, so it may be that we've just lost that coyote, which is frustrating. Okay, we've got a major break risk. I guess that's from the cold. Well, they're only at 16% hypothermia, which is not bad. What we will do, though, is we'll consume the hare meat. We are hungry. As we can see, that's not even filled the hunger bar there, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. They are only small animals after all. And we're going to have to remove the hunt request on that coyote, because if we go near these insect hives, they will aggro, and that'll make this playthrough even shorter than the last one. So instead we'll send Cobra off to sleep. It's 9 o'clock in the evening, so it's a decent time to head off to bed. We still have one snow hare up to the north of our base. And hopefully this coyote will find its way out of these caves before these insects decide to consume it themselves. So we've had the last of our meat. We're now down to 0 meat reserves. So we'll allow ourselves a quick game of Hoopstone just for the recreation boost and the mood boost it will provide. We'll heat ourselves up here next to the steam geyser, and then we want to go and hunt down this snow hare to the north. Ideally, we'd want to get rid of the hypothermia altogether, although we don't want to waste too much time standing here, because obviously our food bar is very low. So let's now move on to this snow hare. Let's get it hunted down. The coyote's still near the insects, which is very frustrating. It's also going to bleed out in a few hours. In fact, it's incapacitated now, so I think that meal is off the table. So we have hit this snow hare, destroyed its liver, and we've obviously injured the torso, but it's still on the move. There we go. So let's haul that back to our base immediately. We are exposed out here to temperatures of, oh, it's not too bad. It's only 4 degrees outside today, which is still far below our minimum comfortable temperature. So that's kept the hypothermia to something of a manageable level. Don't have enough levers yet to construct any clothing, unfortunately. And I do believe, aside from the insects... Oh, no. Oh, excellent. We have a walrus and a seal. Let's get them hunted down. We'll start with the seal, since it's closest. And we can also use this steam geyser to offset the hypothermia. Where's it going? That's better. Chase after us. Don't hit us though. Oh god. That's the last thing we wanted. We're already bleeding out after one hit. It's bitten off our left middle toe. Perfect. That's just made our task of surviving that little bit harder. Thank you, Randy Random. Come on, Cobra, hit it. There we go. So we'll finish it off, we'll butcher it, and then we'll tend to our wounds before we bleed out. And then tomorrow, providing this walrus doesn't leave the map, we shall go and hunt down that walrus. So we'll set self-tend to on. There we go, we are now tending to our bitten off toe. There we go. We'll consume some seal meat. .30 units of meat from that, which is enough for 2 meals. Let's get that lever hauled to the stockpile and then head off to bed. And let's just make sure this walrus does not disappear. As we can see, our coyote has passed away. Fortunately, it's going to be very tricky to get it when we could try a nighttime run, but if we do aggro these, it would be game over. So we may have to just write the coyote off. Okay, let's disturb Cobra's rest. Have a meal. Have a game of hoopstone. Get his mood out of this critical threshold here. Okay, we have 28 leather now. Is that enough to craft anything to keep us a little bit warmer? I don't think it is. No, even the tribal kilt costs 40 levers, which we do not have. Now, there's nothing we can construct that would help. I mean, we could make some hand wraps, but I think the better option is to hunt down the walrus, which is still on the map, because I do believe they also dropped pinniped leather when they are butchered. So this walrus leather will go towards the seal leather that we already have, and we should be able to craft an item of clothing with it. Do not wander off the map. That's better. So several successful hits there, but the walrus is still going. Luckily these do not fight back, so we've got no danger here. There we go. That's the walrus down. Let's get it hauled back to base. And then we'll carve it up, see what sort of meat and leather we get from it, and then we'll decide what we're going to do with the levers if we have enough to craft an item of clothing. I think we should do. Oh, that's a lovely amount of meat there, and a lovely amount of levers as well. So let's see what we can create. We can't make a pelt coat. We can make a poncho. But I think we go for tribal wear. If we had 80, I would go for a poncho and the tribal kilt. Unfortunately we don't. We have 78, so we're just under. So we'll go for the tribal wear, and we'll prioritise crafting that, because that's going to help keep us a little bit warmer. Leaves us with 18 left for future hunting and future crafting, once further animals wander onto the map, hopefully. As it stands, we're still limited to ourselves and the insects on here, so we've got to be careful. Where's he going? Cleaning the dirt. Oh, it's classed this as a home zone, so let's just clear that home area. That's obviously from when we put down the stockpile, isn't it? Let's instead grab a bite to eat. we'll equip the tribal wear. What's that done for our cold protection? 2 degrees. So right now we'll not suffer from any hypothermia. So we'll take advantage of these relatively reasonable temperatures and do a bit of mining, because we'd need to get this stockpile indoors so it's protected from the elements. Unfortunately, we've had a mental break. However, given our environment, the mental break is one of the best ones we could have really hoped for. Hide in room. So we're not going to be wandering out on the ice sheet in sub-zero temperatures. We are going to be in our relatively comfortable room. So we're not going to have to worry about collapsing from hypothermia. So all we can do now is just let Cobra snap out of his little mental break here. And then we'll assess our options from then onwards. Hopefully during this little 24-48 hour mental break. Oh no, it ended very quickly. I was going to say hopefully some more animals would join our map. But we shall see. As we know, however, the one upside from a mental break is you get the plus 40 mood bonus from the catharsis. Oh, we have cargo pods. What are we getting here, Randy Random? What are you giving us? A concrete shiv. I'm not going to worry about that. We could sell it to a trade caravan, but it's not going to make or break the series, so we can get it if we have time, but there's other things we need to focus on. As we can see here, we don't have a latrine at the moment, so we are having to take care of business out on the ice sheet. That doesn't help our mood, so one of the things we do want to construct is a latrine. Chunks of spacecraft. They'll come in handy later. For now we can just disregard them. Whereabouts did they land? Over here. Okay. We'll make a note of that and remember it for the future. For now, as I said, I'm not going to aid our survival at the moment, so we can disregard them. Okay, so that's our steel reserves increased. We now have enough for a steel latrine. So we no longer have to go in the open. That's going to help our mood. Let's get that last little chunk of steel there, fair enough. Now, as I said, one of the things we do want to try and get done is get this stockpile protected from the elements. So we'll throw up a quick structure around the outside as best we can. In fact, we'll take it all the way down there. Put in a steel door. Cancel that one. And if we just increase the stockpile zone there, and we'll get all this built, and then none of this stuff is going to deteriorate because it's out in the open. Hopefully we've got enough steel here. We can always go and grab more if not. No, we don't. Okay, so we need to get some more steel, so I'll say just another 3 blocks is going to be enough to finish this off. Still no new animals on the map yet, unfortunately. Okay, so we're heading off to bed, that's fine. We did wake him quite early from his sleep and he wasn't fully rested, so that's understandable. However, we are going to have something to eat here. We are starving and we don't want to suffer from malnutrition or the negative, ravenously hungry mood penalty. I think if he's not up by about 7 o'clock, we'll wake Cobra and get this wall finished off as quickly as we can. No, okay, so he woke up at 7 by himself, perfect. So, one more block to finish off. Nothing new as of yet. We have to keep checking that. We don't want to miss anything. Not in the early game anyway. Okay, as we can see, that's stopped the deterioration on our more sensitive items, which is great. Obviously the meat is frozen, so don't have to worry about spoilage on that front. Let's see if we have enough for a steel table. I think we are going to. And a steel stool? I think we should. That's going to help with the 8 without table negative modifier. And it also gives us somewhere to relax socially, which is going to vary our recreation options so we don't get bored of playing Hoopstone all the time. We can keep it varied, and that's going to help keep our recreation bar filled as well. There we go. Right, so what do we want to prioritise next? A butcher's table would be nice. A steel butcher's table requires 20 wood. Okay, so that's off the cards. A research bench, perhaps? That's 100 steel. I mean, the sooner we start our research, the better. Let's get the research started. Let's get some steel mined out for this. Interestingly, the insects have not made any attempt to eat the coyote I thought they would do. I'm quite tempted during the night to make a run out there and see if we can haul that coyote corpse back to our base without aggroing the insects. I think in terms of risk versus reward out here on the ice sheet, it's something we've got to take a chance on. We can't guarantee that any more animals are going to wander on before we burn through this food supply here. Oh, so an animal has wandered on. Unfortunately, it's a Gallatros, which we are not even going to attempt to take down. They have extremely high health, and they're extremely dangerous, and a solo colonist with just a recurve bow isn't going to manage it. Are the insects asleep yet? They are. Shall we do it? I tell you what, because this could mean game over, I am going to save scum a little bit here. I will save it before we do a run through. Let's go try it. I mean, we might aggro them, but if we can get away, I believe they only pursue you for about 30 tiles. So if we can get away from them, we might get lucky. Ah, no problem. Well worth the risk. Well worth it. So our Gallatros has come to say hello. It's just teasing us there. As I said, we're not going to make any attempt to hunt it though. It would just be a death sentence doing that, so it's not worth the risk. But we'll butcher the coyote and then head off to sleep after a quick meal. So with Cobra off to sleep, I think this is a decent time to end this episode. For those of you who are following along on the previous series, I do apologise for the short nature of it. However, because I've identified the mod that caused the issue and got rid of it, I'm hoping it won't be a problem this time around. So episode 2 will be up in a few days time, 2 or 3 days time. There'll be a few more Transport Fever 2 videos in the meantime. But if you are here for the Ice Sheet Challenge, it will continue and there will be more to come, so go ahead and subscribe to be notified when it is released. For now, all that remains for me to say is take very good care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It's ta-ta for now.